Hi everyone. I've been getting into the whole EDC gear hobby for the past year or so, and just wanted to, for fun, kind of do a little rundown of what I've collected and what I'm carrying and everything. So yeah, hope you might find this a little interesting. I just wanted to start off showing off what I got on my keychain here. First up, don't always have this, but just a Bic lighter with, this is actually a lighter leash that I just got from a gas station. Came with a one of those little pulley kind of systems, but I just bent the clip and put it on my carabiner with the rest of my keys. Got a mini Sharpie, it's always handy to have, as well as this Syrinx titanium pen. Came with a couple refills. This was a freebie that came with one of the knives I got from Blade HQ, but kind of like having it with me. It's always kind of cool to just have a titanium pen. Let's see, I got this, I've been liking quite a bit, is a Through Night Teeny flashlight. It's got 3 different settings for the always on, as well as a turbo mode that's quite bright and will definitely light up a dark room. And the battery life is pretty good. It just recharges with this little micro USB port right under there. And that makes it nice and easy because it's the same size as all of my Bluetooth headsets and whatnot. And then we got this, other than my actual house key, got a regular old Spyderco Ladybug. It's a handy little knife. It's definitely good enough to be able to bust down cardboard and stuff like that, as long as it's not too thick, outdoorsy kinds of things. But it's nice to have on my keychain or use as a backup, as I've definitely found myself gravitating towards kind of generally always having a more full-size kind of knife with me anyway. But yeah, there you go. Moving on, multi-tool I've been using is this Victorinox Swiss Tool Spirit X. This is the big competition with the venerable Leatherman Wave series. I went with this largely just to be kind of iconoclastic, but I like it. I like the ergonomics and I like the tool selection on it. And just the size is good. It definitely comes in handy. I find myself using the screwdriver bits fairly often. This little pry bar, chisel-y kind of thing that Victorinox likes to put on some of their tools is come in handy fairly often as a little pry bar, just since the end of it comes to a reasonable edge there. You can get into some skinnier type prying tasks for like popping the lid off of a bottle and stuff like that. It's got the little mini scissors. It's got the standard file with fine and coarser edges, and in file on the end for if you're filing metal or something like that. Haven't had to use it to escape from prison yet, and hopefully won't need to, but I guess I could in a pinch if I came to that. So yeah, Victorinox Swiss Tool Spirit X, standard-ish kind of multi-tool. Something to consider if you're looking at the Wave but just want to be weird for some reason. That was the case for me. And then moving on into my regular daily carry sort of pocket knives rotation, as well as some stuff I've got just for fun. I've been keeping them in this case, which I actually got from Bed Bath & Beyond of all places. I think it's meant for some kind of cosmetics. And we just put black like craft foam down in the bottom of these drawers, and I think it looks kind of nice. I like how it's clear so you can still see everything. Wasn't too bad. Well, I'll start out with this little drawer at the bottom with some of the cheaper stuff. Go roughly chronologically here. First up, this was a pocket knife I got when I was probably around 11 years old on a family vacation out in Wyoming, somewhere near Yellowstone. Used it in Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, I guess, getting my whittling chip and everything. It's just a lockback with a little buffalo pattern. Unmarked steel, cheap plastic, plenty of blade play. I think that's a 2.5-inch blade. But you know what, it's got a little bit of sentimental value in that respect, so why not? It's a cool little souvenir from as a kid. I got some use out of it. Not really something I'd use to carry out of the house or anything, because it's lacking modern features, and let's face it, the build quality just is not that great. So anyway, Next up, this was what I got when I went off to college. I had gotten a gift card to Cabela's, of all places, for 15 bucks, which at the time I thought was going to be plenty to upgrade my pocket knife there. I got this. It's kind of junky, and this thing might be heading to Goodwill. It's quite heavy. It's all steel liner and handle. I think this is a 3-inch blade. It's got a hollow grind as well as a chisel grind, which probably doesn't show up that well with all the messing around I've done on the edge, but still not very sharp right now anyway, because frankly I just don't care. It's got some sort of plastic washers, and it's got a lot of horizontal blade play. If I tighten it down any more, it gets a lot tighter and virtually impossible to open before it gets any more solid on that blade play issue. So I don't know, like I said, this might go to Goodwill, and I don't know if you can see, but it's just 420 stainless, made in China. Not the most brilliant purchase, but there you go. Next up, a more recent acquisition is traditional Open L, number 6 in this case. If you're familiar at all with Open L's, you've probably heard of them. Very traditional French pocket knife. This is the 3-inch blade, which I believe is the smallest you can get that still has the locking ring mechanism, which I wanted. I kind of got this with whittling in mind, which I have used it for, carving spoons and stuff like that. But I've been really impressed by the blade. Definitely the skinniest, sliciest blade in my collection, and fun to sharpen. Comes down to a ridiculous edge there, and it's kind of become the benchmark against which I measure my sharpening jobs on a lot of my other knives. So that's pretty interesting. I think it's kind of cool that it's made in France and wooden, and yeah. What I've actually done, I'm in the process of this, just looking for the right drill bit that's small enough for the screws I've got, is I flattened down this little area on the back just with a 400 grit bench stone, and I've got an extra ZT deep carry clip that I'm going to mount on here because I'd like having a pocket clip, and I just think it'd be fun to kind of be a hipster and have a little ZT clip poking out of my pocket, and I'll be like, oh, you got a 393, a Hinder, a 562 or something? Nope, Open L. So that's a cool little guy. For the price, it's nice to have in my collection for a little traditional. And then sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum for cheap and fun for different reasons, I got myself a cheapo Mall Ninja Battle song here. I wanted to just get a cheapo one to kind of learn and mess around with doing the flipping and whatnot. I just bit myself because I was handling the wrong handle. Didn't cut me because I keep the blade fairly dull. But it's been kind of fun. I view these things as, like, frankly, it's more fun than a fidget spinner, and same price, and I don't know, I just wanted it, whatever. And surprised I end up using this thing more often than I'd care to admit, cutting up my chicken or whatever I'm eating for dinner. So yeah, it's cheapo construction, you know, unmarked Chinese steel, aluminum handles, but I mean, frankly, the thing doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart or anything, so can't complain. It did what I wanted when I got it. So yeah, that's in the bottom drawer right now. I'll put that back and move along into sort of the things I'm actually carrying on more of a daily basis, roughly in an order of least to most often. So I'll start out with this guy. This is a Civivi Brigand in copper and 154 cm steel. It actually came with a black washed copper finish on the scales, which I wasn't in love with. I felt like they were going for a more antique-y kind of look. So I just sanded that off with emery paper, went up to 1500 grit emery paper, polished it up with some Bon Ami, which is basically like Barkeeper's Friend, if you're familiar with that. I'm kind of happy with how it looks. You can kind of see here the black wash finish is still visible on the beveled edges of the scales, and it makes a nice little contrasting kind of pop there. The blade is 0.12 inch blade stock, but it actually feels thinner to that to me just because it's got such a tall flat grind, and it comes down to a really nice edge. This is great to sharpen on a flat bench stone, both because of the steel chemistry makes it easy to get a very keen edge, and just the fact that it's got such a flat blade profile up here makes it very easy to do without too much screwing around with trying to catch more drop points and things like that. It is very heavy, and my other major complaint is the fact that the lock bar access is a little difficult, let's say. There's not probably enough of a cutout as I would like for actually getting my finger or thumb in there, but it's all right. It's a flipper running on bearings, and it runs fairly smooth, pops out reliably, a little more push buttony, and you can kind of shake it shut. So overall, I'm happy. I think, I'm keeping this because I did the modification and everything like that, which makes it kind of mine. But it is generally a little bit bigger and heavier than what I want, and a little non-traditional of a blade shape, but it's still great for, eating up cardboard and whatnot. So yeah, Civivi Brigands, copper, and 154 cm. Next up is a knife that I got in a trade. I traded a knife I got for free, and dealing with Kaiser's customer service right now, which is very much lacking. This is a Kaiser Feist. This version is in green micarta, black DLC blade finish, S35 VN blade steel, which is great. Issue is the lock bar is not engaging properly. I am kind of upset with Kaiser's customer service because it's been like, email them, wait a couple weeks, email them, wait a couple weeks for a response. So that hasn't been great. Fortunately, I've got enough of the rest of the stuff in my fun little toy box that doesn't matter too much. But, I got this for the sort of the gentlemanly office carry kind of profile, which it achieves. And also I wanted to be able to fidget with the front flipping action, which, gotta say, I like. The tent is soft enough to be able to do the index finger pop out like that. Fairly easily to drop shut, and yeah, it's fun to just have the blade appear when you're doing the old thumb flick like that over the top. So hopefully I can get some satisfaction and either get this replaced or repaired or something, because I don't want to have to tear it apart and start sanding bits of metal down and see if I can get the lock to work. As you can see right now. Yep, it's a slip joint. So yeah, please do better, Kaiser, and I might be happier. Otherwise, this is most certainly going to be my only Kaiser. Moving on to the stuff that I actually do tend to carry is this guy. This is my first quality knife that was sort of my gateway drug into the EDC gear, pocket knife collecting kind of hobby in general. I'd actually been reading a book, spy thriller kind of novel that had mentioned Spyderco knives, and just sort of a throwaway kind of line. But I read that and thought, Spyderco, I feel like I've heard of that before. I wonder what those are. Googled it, looked at them, thought they looked cool, and decided, yeah, I could stand to have a decent pocket knife on hand. I should take a look at these. And I looked more, and I was like, okay, I definitely want one made in the States, and this whole compression lock thing sounds cool, and I want one that's got the cool blade shape and everything. So I got this, the Para 3 lightweight. Everybody who's handled these seems to like them, other than some people who don't like the FRN, but I'm very happy with it overall. The handle's very sturdy, even though it does feel plasticky. Ergonomics are just great, and it's very nice with the drop shut action. Fun to do the Spidey flick or the thumb flick for the opening. Yeah, this guy, again, eats up cardboard very easily for me. I don't have much of a problem throwing this at just about anything. Because part of it, it just feels like a nice tool, and the blade steel on it is CTS BD1N, which is not all that common, but so far in my experience, it's been unintimidating to sharpen just on bench stones and everything. So I have gotten a pretty good shaving sharp edge on this. And it's tough to really, get much of a gauge based on how often I'm using a pocket knife when I've got this many sitting around, to be able to really determine edge retention, but it seems to do a pretty good job. I can't complain. you know, if you gave me one of these and had it labeled as, you know, 20 CV or something like that, I'm not enough of an expert to be able to have noticed the difference, I don't think, let's be real. But yeah, this one's sentimental for a different reason, I guess, but also just a great tool. Something I'm very happy to carry. Only thing I'd point out is like all of these, the centering is terrible if that's something that bothers people. But I will say this deep carry clip, the wire clip from Spyderco, definitely love that. Very low profile, sits well, ergonomically very good, and yeah, that's something I'd like to see copied more often. So there you go. Next one up here is this guy. This is the Hogue and Doug Ritter Mini RSK, or the RSK Mini Mark I G2. This is, of course, sort of Doug Ritter's take on Benchmade Griptilian that they're making. Everybody who's handled these seems to love them, and I agree. The main thing I would say about this knife is this is the knife that proved to me that I'm interested in more than just functionality, because frankly, this is all the knife I need. It does everything functionally. You know, there's not really anything I could complain about with that. It's a great 20 CV blade with 0.09 inch blade stock thickness, so it's very slicey and good for just about anything. Gonna hold an edge really well, gonna be very stain resistant, not like LC200N or something, but quite good. It's just very fidgety with their able lock, kind of axis lock thing. Fun to open in a variety of ways. I usually end up doing the little spider flick thing. Just a great blade size, great blade shape, and everything else. Easy to carry, you know, I'll take this with me just about anywhere and be happy with it. It's running on phosphorus bronze washers, which is easy to clean out and pop out just by taking out the pivot and everything. And G10 handle, it does have nice texturing on it. And deep carry clip. It's probably my least favorite part of this whole thing. The screws on it definitely poke up and make it tough to get all the way down into your jeans pocket or anything. And not the greatest ergonomically for me, but overall it's just very solid. This could easily be my last knife, and the fact that it's not proves that I'm just a crazy person like everybody else who might be interested in watching this. So there you go. It is, do like it much more than the regular Griptilians based on my experience so far though. Next up, got another Hogue. This is one of my more recent ones. This is a Hogue X1 Microflip. This version is in the satin blade, matte gray aluminum handle, and the Wharncliffe style blade. I really do love this blade pattern. The shape of the blade is maybe not quite a traditional Wharncliffe, but it's got that kind of thing I like where the actual point is just dropped very far forward. Makes it very useful and utilitarian, very easy to sharpen because of that edge profile. And the hollow grind makes it so it comes down to a very reasonable thickness behind the edge. Feels very solid, just a very angry little guy, which I love. Action on it's very cool. Pops out with no trouble and very authoritatively. It's just thunk. And it's got the button lock mechanism where it'll just drop shut a bit of a ways until it hits the internal detent system. Then you have to clamp it the rest of the way. But yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised by this. It was on my radar just based on the features. I like the sub 3-inch blade length on it and everything. And I was interested in another flipper, especially with this kind of action, checking it out. And the button lock, of course. And I've been pleasantly surprised. I mean, people complain about the jimping back here, which I get it, feels unnecessary and it can be uncomfortable, but it hasn't been too much of an issue with my fingers, the way I tend to flip this thing. And I don't know, overall I really do like the ergonomics. Jimping is good. If there was one thing ergonomically I wished is that it had some sort of a front finger choil, because I do feel like this feels very much like a natural grip I would want to get into. I just don't want to be slicing my finger open, obviously. But yeah, Hogue Microflip. Not the classiest, little gentlemanliest small knife, but I've been getting a kick out of it, and it's going to stick around. Definitely a fan of Hogue knives as a result of that. Then finally up is probably the bougiest thing in my collection so far, even though it's a very common kind of blade. Your standard ZT 0450 titanium. This one you can see has my name engraved on it, which I like quite a bit, how that came out on the blade. Blade HQ did a great job with their customer service. Just it initially come with my name engraved on the scale. I've kind of sanded that out again with fine grit emery paper, so it's back to full gloss. But because of that, they actually sent me a replacement for it, totally free, and I was able to just swap the blade out so that I was able to trade the other one for that Kaiser Feist, which, like I said, got it for free, so not that concerned, but in a way, wish Kaiser had better customer service. Feel like I got ripped off a little bit, but anyway. Yeah, it's another flipper that's got just great action, titanium handle and scales, and a lightweight. It's a very, like, to me, even though some people say it's murdery or whatever, I view it as still a fairly classy looking knife, just with the all metal construction and the skinny blade. It is S35 VN steel and a 0.12 inch blade stock thickness. The flipper is just excellent and reliable, running on, of course, the KVT ball bearing system. And it's pretty close to drop shutty. This guy's fun to take apart, clean up and everything. It's close to an action showpiece. And yeah, I just had to try that. Definitely has grown on me quite a bit over some of the other ZTs. The lines on it, it's just pretty. It's, yeah, making me want to go for another titanium frame lock at some point. But yeah, those are kind of generally what I've got that I'm carrying on a daily basis. Looking forward to finding some more things for different purposes and just for collecting's sake. Definitely could use something else in the 3.5 inch range, since I know that my Civivi is the only thing meeting that. But definitely getting to the point where I'm interested much more in that whole fit and finish game and just having stuff that feels premium. Because really, I got into it with the Spyderco. I've continued to justify it with the utility and things, but when it comes down to it, a lot of this is just about, pocket jewelry, men's fashion accessories, and on top of that, just an appreciation for these as kind of mechanical objects and appreciating the engineering and machining that go into it as an art form and everything. So yeah, it's my weird little hobby now, but I'm enjoying it. Hope you found this somewhat interesting. If anybody else is also just getting into the collecting game and whatnot, these are some of what's started off my collection. I'm having fun with getting deeper into the community, doing the Reddit swapping and everything else. And I'm sure I'll continue to do a lot with this. Might post some more videos if I get anything a little bit more unusual that I get in hand. But yeah, this has been fun. Definitely recommend anybody to be able to carry a pocket knife and be prepared. But there you go. Hope everybody's staying warm out there. Have yourselves a good one.